Hello everyone and welcome back to AustinPlus commentary, where today we are answering a question once again, which is basically what this whole channel is at this point, but we are answering a very important question, which is where are we going with the Monsterverse? The Monsterverse has been here since 2014. The Monsterverse has been bringing us epic battles involving kaijus and the human race, but what is next for this universe? Are we at its peak or are we just getting started? I don't think people realize how popular the Godzilla and Kong films were even before the 21st century. It was very niche at the time. It's very cinematic now. It's evolved way ahead of its time. So it's very different, but it's still keeping that same sort of essence and lore like it did all the way back then. Godzilla and Kong films, I think they started merging Godzilla and Kong films. Not the one in 2021, Godzilla versus Kong. They started doing that a while ago, obviously again before the 21st century. But it started getting on people's nerves, when they added CGI to it. But it's always the lore back then that they liked having big kaijus, monsters fighting each other, because that was very peak entertainment. They never really started like that. It never got on people's nerves beforehand, but until last year's release of Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, this sort of drifted away of them not liking the fact that they were just two big kaijus going at it, and the fact that Kong won is an astonishment. But I think the reason this has sort of drifted away is because of a specific reason, so let's talk about it. I think sequels are very important, because sequels were very important in terms for the MCU, the DCU, series and shows and all that, even tiny 20-minute clips. It worked for the How to Train Your Dragon franchise, but it's now I think the Monsterverse have now come to grips with that, so they're using it as well. The sequels, they were really good because they established more of a comprehensible universe. In the 60s, which I do believe is when they came out with these movies in black and white, they were just two animatronics going head to head for no reason at all, and there was no meaning or role behind it. There was no monarch, there was no sort of agency against it. It was literally two big monsters fighting for no reason. But this universe is more comprehensible. There's a reason for these, this universe. They have a purpose. People actually, they work with the kaijus, which kind of takes away from the point, but they try and utilize them as much as they can. Because, don't get me wrong, it's basically a reflection of what, if this world did have big monsters, what would this world do? Probably something very similar. Kong Skull Island was very important because it established the Kong's importance. We only had Godzilla. We already knew the Godzilla 2 was coming out, and Godzilla was mainly what people were familiar with. But King Kong was more of a cinematic idol until they had them come together with Kong Skull Island, and they realized how important it is to the whole universe, because it was Skull Island that really set the tone for the whole of this universe. And then when it was preceded by King of the Monsters, it established they're all in one collective, and maybe they don't all like each other, but they are a collective after all. And another thing about that movie was that it established a variety of kaijus, such as spiders. I think there was a mammoth one somewhere in that, but also it validated their importance in the franchise. Now, I think Godzilla X Kong was very impactful, especially to that boredom, but also to this whole franchise as a whole. It took a big hit because this movie set the role for the main character, being Godzilla or Kong. It depends on where you look at it, but it has made it very important to the franchise, and it did give it a good boost. And there was people that liked it, there was people that hated it. I took about 2 months to watch the film, so what does that tell you? But it's just one of those things, because Godzilla was obviously they always considered him the alpha, but then you had Mothra come in. She's obviously the queen of the monsters, and Kong was then shown as the king of the Hollow Earth. I think exploring a lot of Hollow Earth's lore was very important because it shows that everyone has some sort of domain and not everyone's fighting for each other, because I think that was the main problem with Godzilla x Kong. They didn't like the fact that they had them two fighting each other, because in our heads you're like, one's got an atomic breath and then one's just a giant ape. Now, if it was a tiny lizard then a giant ape, yes. Yep. But an atomic breath with someone just with an axe, I just think that was so unrealistic. But in the end, it was mainly just them against the Mechagodzilla, and they do realize that they didn't like each other in the end, but they still had their own domains, such as Hollow Earth and obviously the ocean, or just the King of the Monsters. Now, when I talk about sequels, I think sequels and extensions, such as projects in the franchise, are also very important. This is evident by the show called Monarch. I just recently started watching that. It's actually quite interesting. You see a variety of things. All of them are ugly AF. But all of them, the rumored... Ever since then, there has been so many rumored projects, such as a second season for Monarch Legacy of the Monsters, but also there is a Hollow Earth project rumored where the place will be explored in a documentary type thing that has been done by Monarch. So it's an in-universe documentary, if you get what I mean. Instead of you having your typical David Attenborough, you will have some person in the Monarch organization exploring the Earth, which I think is a bold choice, but not a lot of people know about the Hollow Earth, so I think it will be very important in that aspect. So I do appreciate that. So how many years does the Monsterverse really have left? I mean, the Monsterverse is coming up with new ways to introduce new types of creatures, and it's been going on for now just over a decade, and it is introducing new types of creatures that we all want to see again, while still showing that Kong and Godzilla are still the main concerns for this whole franchise. This will get boring in the next 5 to 7 years, I would say, and while that is my estimation, I could very much be wrong. But 5 to 7 years is what I will give it, depending on how Godzilla x Kong Supernova goes said to release in 2027. Last thing I want to say is there's a very ongoing question with this whole franchise. It goes very dormant when there's nothing going on. Not even with Marvel. Marvel's always got something going on, so it's never talked down enough. But with the Monsterverse, when they don't have anything releasing within the next few years with trailers or anything, there is so much it's just radio silence. But there's a question going on, but what legacy will the Monsterverse really leave behind, and what has it got so far? Now, I would say Godzilla is a very major cinema icon. Same with Kong. There's no denying that. And this was long before the 2014 film. There is no question that I think people don't know Godzilla was a very big icon way before the 2014 film. So this would, I would say, leave a mark in that sort of way. But it depends on how you perceive the Monsterverse. I know there is a lot of people that don't like it because they prefer the originals. If so, go with the originals. That doesn't mean that it's not impactful and it doesn't have a legacy. There are different phases, yes, but it still has a legacy nonetheless. Personally, I'm obviously, I would have been 6 when the first one came out. I was not going to go and watch that. I think I watched it definitely before, definitely after that, but I don't know how old I was when I first watched the first Godzilla, but it just, at the time, it didn't make sense to me. I did end up going, to rewatch it, but that is a memory that is stuck in to my head, because monsters, kaijus, and everything, I love that stuff. It's always so cool, and I love the animations, and I love the CGI, but I know a lot of people don't. It's just up to you, really. So, where do we see the Monsterverse going? Everywhere, nowhere, no one really knows. This one's quite a mystery, I will say that much. But everyone, that is the end of today's video. I do hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe and comment what else you would like to see on the channel. And without further ado, I hope you have an amazing day as always, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!
Yeah.